Hey everyone, it's me, Lupe Fuentes, DJ and producer. Today we are here at my studio in downtown Los Angeles. I'm gonna be showing you what it was like to make my latest tune, Boogie Wonderland. I produce in Pro Tools. I have been producing for the past 6 years. A lot of people have different preferences in terms of producing, like Ableton or Logic, but for me, I learned in Pro Tools and that's what I really feel the most comfortable with. And yeah, let's get to it. Over the past 5 years, I built a pretty big sample library, and back in the day, Roger Sanchez gave me a lot of those sounds, so big shout out to him from here. Currently, I have over 100 records out, so you can check out my music on Spotify, iTunes, Beatport, or any other music store, and of course, TrackSource. Here you go, we're gonna just solo all of this. And by the way, for those who got here late, this is my upcoming release, Boogie Wonderland. I just finished it and I want to break it down for you in step by step of how I created it. Here we have the kick. We have two kicks. In one of them, I put the Pro Q and to make it a high pass drum. So this is how I start the tune, and this is gonna be the intro pretty much. This is the part where the DJs are gonna mix this track with the track that they were playing before. So this is how it's gonna sound when it's filtered, and after this I add the second kick, and it's gonna be when it really drops and it starts sounding booming. So let me show you both of them. The reason I have a second kick is the second kick has way more low end, more bass. It's way stronger. So this is just for like the little parts when I want to either break it down or like in the intro, like over here. And this is for like the real piece of the track, the bass of the track, the part where you're gonna really be feeling the kick. So for those who know me and know my production, I produce tech house, and some techno. I am very inspired by funk and soul and just really soulful vocals and just like groovy stuff, very funky stuff that really swings and cool bass lines. So I was really inspired by the original track, Boogie Wonderland. And I decided that I wanted to remake that tune and, you know, make it more current, just to give it my spin into the underground. So here is how this track sounds right now, which I just finished it. So yeah, I mean, and when I start creating a track like this one, I really went for a warm sound. I wanted the song to sound warm, and to do that, I really need to choose the right drums, the right kicks and claps and snares, and that's what I start with. I'm gonna just feature a little bit of the drums individually. You realize all of these have a specific sound that make the track sound already very 808, very funky, very 80s. I like to use a lot of analog sounds. I really like to use sounds that sound vintage. I think that it's just really amazing, and I am very inspired by it. So I always try to do that, but keep it current. So yeah, I mean, here we start placing this you know, different types of hats and claps. I have 2 claps right here. Different type of open hats. I have 2 open hats here. And you realize only with 5 channels here, it's already a vibe. It's already, you know, the beginning of a track. Then I add the fast hats. Sounds very tech house. This sounds very, but it's still very warm. Very fast, very tech house, very warm. I usually make my tracks between 120 and 125. It's like usually the tempo I am in between, and just like my sweet spot. I love shakers. It just sounds really Latin and almost sounds tribal in some way. And that's the sound I really like. Then production is really about layering things and layering sounds. It's really all it's about, you know, just bringing sounds that you like and that sound good together. Little ride here. Every little sound adds its own vibe to the track. Percussion is really the base of what makes people move, of what makes people dance. And I make music for the dance floor, so I really try to focus a lot on drums / percussion because it's the base of the track, it's the foundation. I really like breakbeats, and I have a ton of samples of breakbeats, just hip-hop breakbeats and some rock ones, and I really like to incorporate that into my tracks because it adds a very just organic and raw feel to the tune. So here specifically I added one, and I had this sample and I cut it up so it will build to it. So that's solo right now, so you can hear it. And then the hats are coming into it. And then you add the snare belt, which is about to come in the third part of the breakdown. And this just really builds nicely, and I love to put a snare belt because it just sounds very drummy and I like that. And it just builds very nicely and uniform to the drop. And then the second snare belt that is a little more bassy, more low end, it just makes it a little more dramatic. Here are more hats and the crash that is really important because it really makes it sound just like super epic. And from there, like that's pretty much it for drums. But one of the basic things of a tech house track or a house track is the bass line. It's such an important part, and that's usually the second thing I add after drums. And I usually either sample a bass, or I play it on my keyboard, or I even sample a live bass. My husband is a bass player, so he plays bass lines for me all the time. And in this one specifically, I play a bass line with my keyboard, which is here. And as you can see, let me bring it to it. So let me start from the beginning. Right here, I usually start with the bass line a little filter because I don't want the bass line from the new track a DJ is bringing clash with the bass line from the old track that is ending. So this is really important, and I think, and as a DJ, when the bass line is very strong right off the bat, it's just very difficult to mix when you are mixing live at a club. So I usually always filter the bass line in the intro. And then as you can hear right there, is getting a filter, and you can see here all my automation and see what is filtering in and out. It's just very simple actually, you know. It's pretty much going through the whole track, just a little filter here, and then getting filter in the breakdown. The plugins I use usually when I make a bass line are either Serum or Massive. Two of my favorite plugins. I'm very used to using those two plugins, and I like the sounds that come out of it. So yeah. I have a pad here that I actually really like. I am very into adding pads in the breakdown. When I created this track and I was like pretty much done with it, one of the last things I added was the guitar. I love drums and I love to keep the tracks pretty stripped back, but I really thought this, because of the vocal and I really wanted this track to be kind of dramatic, I thought it needed something more, and that's the reason I added this guitar. It sounds very, I just like it because the track is very house and very kind of like disco-ish, but the guitar adds an element and a really edgy element to it, and I like the contrast. I really like how it came out. And then I layer this guitar with this other pattern. So it's dope when something like this comes together. And I always like to make these little tiny breakdowns because then the drop comes that much more strong. And here's just an effect, a white noise. I layer all over my tracks and it just creates a really good atmosphere to the track, and it gives it kind of up and downs and layers. It's nice to have. One of the reasons I decided to remake this track is because I was so inspired by the vocal. The original vocal is just so soulful and it has so much feel to it that I was very inspired by it. So a friend of mine, Debbie Holiday, came over and she re-sang the vocal, and we were, she has an amazing voice, so we were able to make it our own, which is really dope. So here you go. There are, different layers here of the vocal, so I'm gonna bring them all so you can hear a nice full version of it. When I am remaking a track or inspired by a track, I like to make it my own and cut little parts of it and use only the parts that I really feel of the vocal or of the track. So in this case, I created a bunch of different vocal ad-libs that are known in the original song. So you kind of create a pattern from when the track drops, and that way it changes and it sounds a little more dynamic. For the vocals, in terms of plugins, I really love the CLA plugins, just pretty much all of them for drums, bass, and in this case vocals. You can do a lot with it and really make your vocal sounds how you want it to sound, full or wider, or even give it a little bit of delay or whatever it is that you want. I use guitar rig specifically in these vocals to make it sound a little bit more vintage, and yeah, I feel like it gives a nice warmth to the vocals. So here's a nice example of how the vocal sounds with and without plugins. I'm so sorry, Debbie. No, she's an amazing singer. I'm just joking. So that was without any plugins, just a little bit of delay. Now I am adding the CLA, and look what a big difference it makes. And now the guitar rig, and this is really gonna make it super vintage and nice and full. right now I'm going to explain a little bit of how I arrange my tracks. And of course, every track is different, but this one pretty much has an intro, a drop, a breakdown, another drop, and an outro. It's actually pretty simple, and usually my tracks are between 5 and 7 minutes, and I make also a radio version. But the track that I first start making when I make a track is the longer version. And yeah, I mean, and it can be, you know, pretty much any way you want, but it should be intro and outro, and then you can make 3 breakdowns or 2 breakdowns. It just really depends on you and how you want your track to sound. For me personally, what I always try to do is to create a continuous jacking groove so people dance the whole night. Thank you so much for watching. I know a lot of you have been asking me for studio videos, and there are gonna be a lot more coming soon. Track breakdowns and tutorials, so stay tuned. Oh, and I almost forgot, make sure to stay tuned for Boogie Wonderland. It's coming out on January on In the Loop.